Hello everybody, today we are here with your Ullr guide. Ullr is a hunter, but he is mostly played in the mid lane. Every once in a while you'll see him pop up in the ADC role, but he is mostly played as a mid laner because his kit is very ability based. For starting off, we'll be getting ourselves a tier 2 Transcendence, 3 health potions, 3 multi-pots, and our beads as per usual. For our first ability, we'll be grabbing our 1. Ullr is a stance switching god, which means he has a default ability. His 4th ability, your ultimate, is actually just your stance switch. Eventually, you'll be able to rank this up for a passive effect, but you do not have to put any points into it in order to get your stance switch, leaving us with our first 3 abilities. Ullr's 2 stances are basically bow stance and axe stance. We are currently in the bow stance right now. The bow stance on our 1 is going to allow us to shoot a line-based ability that goes through enemy gods and minions. And it is simply just going to do damage to everything that it hits. Passes all the way through enemy gods and minions. Does not go through walls. So you can't just like use this ability trying to think that's going to go through a wall, being all hot. That is not how that ability works. The second part of our 1, which you got to see me use right there against the Scylla, is the axe stance form of this ability. The axe stance form of this ability is an axe that you throw out. It does not go through minions, which you have to keep in mind. It goes when it makes contact with whatever it makes contact with first. I want to see if I can't maybe get aggressive here with Scylla dash down. Whatever it makes contact with first, whether it's a minion, whether it's a god, that is in fact what it is going to be hitting, and it is going to do damage, and it is going to be a stun. The ability we grab at level 2 is our 3. In our bow stance, this is going to be our hail of arrows. It is going to launch down an arrow at a pinpoint location, a very small circle, and it is going to do damage at that target location. This ability can go over walls, so I can launch it right over this wall. If I thought somebody was coming in, I can try to use it for poke on Scylla, hit the minions, whatever. Anybody inside of that circle going to take damage. In our axe stance, this is going to be our leap. You can jump over walls. This is a standard leap ability. And when you land at target location, you are going to do AoE damage on arrival. You can see that a lot of Ullr's kit is not super complicated in terms of what the actual abilities do. The bigger complication from complications that come from Ullr is just the fact that you've got 6 abilities. At level 4, we're going to put our put a point into our 2. That is because our 2, the reason we're putting a point into our 2 is actually for the axe stance, but starting off with our bow stance, our 2 is going to be a stem. When we pop this ability, we are going to gain increased physical power for 5 seconds. But more importantly, when we are in our axe stance and we pop this ability, we are going to gain movement speed, 20 to 40% movement speed for those 5 seconds, which is very important. It's going to be a huge part of our getaway. This also means that Ullr is a fairly safe hunter, having both an increase in movement speed in his kit and also a leap. You can see that I'm not putting any points into my ultimate right now. That's because the ultimate is for Ullr is genuinely just a passive, so we're not going to be putting any points into it yet. But what it does do is it is going to give us some attack speed while we are in our bow stance. So as long as we are in our bow stance on Ullr, we are going to gain an increase to our attack speed. And as long as we are in our axe stance, we are going to gain increased physical lifesteal. So you do not get this physical lifesteal in the bow form. You don't get the increased attack speed while you're in the axe form. One other notable part about Ullr ulti that's actually kind of cool. This is also pretty roleplay for anybody out there that's a big fat role player like me. If you get disarmed in one stance on Ullr, you can actually switch to the other stance and you will no longer be disarmed. So say you've got a Bellona running at you and she hits you with her whip, so you get disarmed. If you're in your axe stance, you can just switch over to the bow stance and you're no longer disarmed, or vice versa. Just a fun little tidbit on Ullr. That situation doesn't come up a bunch just because disarm is not a crazy popular form of CC, but it is pretty cool when the situation arrives where you get disarmed and then you switch over and you keep on attacking because you literally pull out a different set of weapons. So it's pretty roleplay. Finally, Ullr's passive. This is probably the part of Ullr's kit that I think people don't understand the most. The regular kit that we just talked about, pretty simple, right? Pretty straightforward. Most of his abilities just like do damage. Nothing wrong with that. But Ullr's passive is interesting. When he uses an ability in either stance, the cooldowns in your opposite stance are reduced by 1 second. So if I use my axe, look down here at this UI bar. This will show you your 3 abilities in your other stance. So I can see that my bow form, all my abilities are up. They're not on cooldown. If I use my abilities, and then I switch stances, you can see the cooldowns down here in the bottom left-hand corner. So if I go up and I use my axe or something, let's just use an axe, boop, then you can actually see the cooldowns go down by 1 second. The reason why this is important is actually very important for getaways. So a lot of times I'll see newer players on Ullr when they're trying to use a getaway, or they're trying to get away from ganks on Ullr, particularly in long chases. They'll just switch over to their axe form and they'll stay here for forever. That's not necessarily what you want to do, particularly after you start getting some bonus mana on Ullr with your Transcendence online. You're going to want to switch over to your bow stance, pop all of your abilities really quick, because that's actually going to help your 2 for your movement speed and your leap both come back up. Very important. So for our first item, we grabbed ourselves our Transcendence. This should be no surprise. Ullr is one of the most mana-hungry hunters, if not the most mana-hungry hunter in the game. You have 6 abilities, and you want to, as aforementioned, be spamming them, because spamming abilities lowers the cooldown of your abilities. Very, very important to get the Transcendence. After our Transcendence, we'll be taking ourselves right into a Warrior Tabite. You can see that most of Ullr's damage is coming out from abilities, so we want to make sure we're getting a very high power build, and it's going to give us 100 extra mana. Combine that with our Transcendence, just leads to a little bit of extra damage on top of that. For our ability order, you can see we max out our 1 first. This is our main form of lane clear. It also increases the stun duration on the axe up to 1.4 seconds. So it's increasing the CC as well. Then we rank up our 3 to max. This is mostly because it's going to give the damage on our bow form. It also increases the damage on your axe form, but it's not all the time that you're going to be diving in with your jump. It is mostly for the bow. After you rank up your 1 and your 3 to max, you have an option. You can either rank up your 2 or your ultimate next. Your ultimate is going to be that passive effect that you get all the time in your stances. The 2 is that active effect, increased movement speed, increased power. I personally rank up the 2 first. I just believe that it is better. Some people like the passive because they like not having to worry about it so much. Gonna pop 2 of my abilities right there in that bow stance in order to get my cooldown on my movement speed to come up just a little bit quicker. So for me, the way that I level Ullr is 1, 3, 2, 4. I typically just save my ultimate for last. So here on Ullr, this is where things get a little bit spicy. You actually have a couple of options here. Let's look at their team comp. They've got a Kuzenbo, they've got a Guan Yu, they've got quite a bit of sustain, quite a bit of healing. So we're going to get ourselves into a Brawler's Beat Stick. If they had a very squishy team and you're feeling good, Fail Not as a 3rd item for the 20% CDR can be really nice. Plus, it gives you a little crit. A lot of people think that Fail Not doesn't proc on Ullr. because he doesn't have an ultimate, but it actually does proc on him. It's just whenever you stance switch. So some people don't like that. I actually do like it because it means that I can get the fail not passive up all the time without having to worry about using my ultimate beforehand. So to each their own. But this game we're going to get the Brawlers because they've got a Pele who's got all the self-sustain. They've got a Guan Yu who's going to provide healing to the team. And in general right now, for those that don't know, in the most recent Smite patch, they changed how kind of healing and anti-healing work. So beforehand, increases and decreases to healing only affected certain things. In order to make this easier for everybody, anti-heal affects all type of healing, and bonus to healing increases all types of healing. Long story short, this means that a Rod of Asclepius is going to increase the heal that my Zonqui gets from his 2. It's also going to increase the amount of healing Hercules gets from his 3. It's going to increase Oleron's ability. It's going to increase Oleron's lifesteal. It's going to increase my HP 5. All of it. Healing bonuses increase all healing. Healing minuses decrease all healing. So Brawler's Beat Stick is going to reduce your HP 5. So items like Chad Shield and Rod of Asclepius have become very popular, and Divine Ruin is anti-heal like Divine Ruin is basically mandatory on every single god in every single game, even if they don't have healing, just by the nature of how the bonuses and minuses to healing are working now. Still working on getting our next item, so we're going to get ourselves into a Brawler's Beat Stick in just a moment. So Ullr is a bit of a lane bully. In the early game, you can see how we've kind of bullied Scylla out of this lane. That is exactly what you are looking to do on Ullr. His kit has a ton of base damage, so you're looking to use a lot of that pressure to take out your opponent out of the lane, force them to sit back in their towers, and start losing some gold to the minions hitting the tower, because you don't get full gold credit for that. I'm going to try to rotate over here to left lane. Just going to spam some abilities, try to get some damage off. Pele wants to come in on me pretty bad right now. I got my axe coming back up. I'm just gonna head back to mid and make sure I don't miss out on too much farm right now. Plus, we can back up and we can get our Brawlers. For Ullr's matchup in the lane, he loves to go against anybody that's not going to full clear the wave. So while Ullr does have pretty good clear, he doesn't have the best clear. So anybody that can kind of AFK farm the wave, ends up being a little bit problematic for Ullr, just because you don't get to have the same level of aggression that you would like. So somebody even like a Ra can basically walk up, beam the wave, and walk away. Not to mention he's got a bunch of sustain that prevents you from 100 zeroing him, so that can be a little bit annoying for you. Plus the bonus movement speed actually makes it a little bit harder to hit your axe. Ullr does not mind anybody that's got a leap, a jump, whatever. Ullr can chase them right out of it, so he's not worried about that at all. I guess my bees aren't allowed to go off this game, that's fine. So Scylla, not an issue in terms of her kit against me. I don't mind that whatsoever, because I can always continue to chase him down. Keep in mind that Ullr's 3 as well in his axe form, or excuse me, in his bow form, is also a really good tool for people that are trying to get away from you. If they jump right over a wall, you don't even necessarily have to follow them. Just go ahead and throw down your 3 right over the wall and kill them as they jump over it. One thing that does tend to be annoying for Ullr is cripples and frontline. So Ullr is the squishy hunter killer of all time. He wants to basically walk up and hit you with the combo. The combo for Ullr is going to be, let's see if we can't go get this combo off. Gonna run right over down here. No, Rama's backing up. So your standard combo on Ullr is you're gonna start off with your axe. You're gonna throw out your axe, obviously trying to hit an enemy god. The second you throw out your axe, you want to switch forms back over to your bow form and hit them with a 3-1. Not a 1-3, a 3-1 preferably. So axe 1, switch, bow 3, bow 1. This is going to be your biggest damaging combo. And honestly, if you have a little bit of a lead, you can actually one-shot with that combo. You can 100-0 somebody. Just like that, actually. So right there, hey, my beads actually went off this time. That's nice. So I used my axe to get the stun. I'm going to switch over to my other form just to try to burn some ability, see if I can't get my jump off in time. I'm not going to be able to get my jump off in time. But you got to see the combo. Axe, immediately switch over, pop your 3, pop your 1. Squishies will probably be getting 100-0, and if they're not, you're falling behind on Ullr. Next up for our item, this is where you can get lifesteal on Ullr. I'm not a big Ullr lifesteal fan. Devo gloves only make sense if you're in the duo line. I don't like Soul Leader personally as an item. Aussie doesn't really make sense for Ullr outside of specific situations like in late game, which leaves me Bloodforge. I like Bloodforge on Ullr a lot, but Bloodforge is a little bit more of a late game item. So as my 4th item, I'm going to get a Heart Seeker, which is going to give me a bunch more power, allowing my combo to continue to one-shot. Plus, it is going to help me against some tankier targets, which we talked about. Ullr does slightly struggle against. Because he's so burst damage oriented, it means that some of the tanky characters can be problematic for you. Ullr builds do tend to be this type of more high damage bursty based builds. So somebody like a Cthulhu can actually be a bit problematic for you because they just pop their ulti and they've got all this HP and you're really not going to be able to just like burn through it. Just gonna jump over this wall, look for some Rama damage. He had a bunch of creeps over here too, but that's all right. See if we can't pop our 1. I think he's actually chasing me. I think he's trying to bait me with Kuzenbo over by this purple. All right. He left, that's fine. I'm gonna head back over towards the mid lane. Really need a couple hundred more gold for our Heart Seeker. A lot of people get scared of playing Ullr, but also don't want to play against him. And a lot of that just comes down to Ullr's axe. If you're consistently landing the axe, you're going to be consistently landing your bow combo. That means that you have to practice with the axe to make sure you are getting that damage efficacy. What's up, Haley? Speaking of missing axes, run away, run away, run away, way, way, run away, run away, run away, way, way. I wish I could have blinked. Switching over, gonna get my cooldowns reduced. So right there, I knew that Pele was coming for me. I could see all my abilities were still on cooldown in my axe form. And so I quickly used all my abilities in my bow form, which gave me -3 seconds on my cooldown. I'm gonna pop a bead, just trying to get out of here. See if I can blink out of this as well. Pele is just absolutely loving me. Still sitting here around the corner while the team fight is going on. That's probably gonna work out all right. We should be able to get the Heart Seeker by the time that we respawn. And then we can start making sure we're buying more sentry wards and stuff as well. In the team fight, your job as Ullr is that pretty much of a traditional hunter. The most important thing that you're going to be doing is simply hitting whatever in front of you. If you're going in for a Phoenix fight, you should be attacking the Phoenixes above all else. If you're getting dove like I am, like by Pele in the backline, my goal is basically just to fight the Pele. As much as I would love to land an axe combo on top of, oh no, Smite servers. Smite servers! As much as I would love to just land an axe combo on their backline squishies, if I've got a Pele just kind of running at me, then there's really nothing that you can do about it. So you want to make sure you're just getting as much damage as you can on whoever's in front of you. And so even with this build right now, if you look at like Pele, she is full squishy. So if I land a full axe combo on him, I am going to be able to kill him because he doesn't have any particular defense items, although by the end, he might actually have some more defenses. And so that is totally fine and dandy to just focus him right on up. As an Ullr, you are also probably going to be a bit of the focus of the enemy team. not really mattering where you play the Ullr. Whether you're in the mid lane or whether you're in the dual lane, you're going to get focused. Don't take it personally. The reason why you're going to get focused on Ullr is because he is a little bit of that snowball type god, which is not to say he doesn't have a late game. He's not like a Thanatos where you're like looking to snowball right off the bat, otherwise you lose. He still is going to transition. He is still going to be a hunter in the later stages of the game. But if Ullr does get an early kill or two, a first blood, you get a nice successful red buff invade, you can very quickly snowball out of control because you're all built around this one-shot combo. If you get a level lead specifically, you don't even really need items. All you need is a level lead for your Axe 3-1 combo to one-shot somebody like we did earlier on Scylla. As we're transitioning into the later stages of this build, we've only got 10% CDR right now. Your two most important things that you're looking to do on Ullr is big power, CDR, and pen. Those are the three things that you are looking for. So we've got a bunch of power online. We've actually got a decent bit of pen because we've got some percent pen from Heartseeker. We've got some flat pen from Brawlers. Plus we have the additional damage on Heartseeker. And now we really need to get ourselves into the cooldown. If we would have gotten ourselves that fail knot earlier in this match, then we would have had ourselves 20% CDR on top of our Transcendence already. We didn't do that, so now we're still looking for some other CDR items in our future. This is another reason why a lot of people like to pick up the Soul Eater on Ullr. It gives you a little bit of lifesteal, which we don't have in the build. It gives you a little bit of CDR as well. My problem with Soul Eater is just more so the fact that it doesn't give you a ton of power, especially until you get it all the way stacked. And as a whole, it's really just not that great of an item, except on some very, very limited gods like a Wukong, who really has the ability to use 4 damaging abilities. You do have 4 damaging abilities as well on Ullr, but for the most part, you are not going to be having yourself a great time with the old Soul Eater. Gonna rotate over towards this Rama, see if I can't hit him with a little fun wombo combo. He might have this warded. Oh, what the axe, baby? That's okay. I'm actually gonna just jump right on top of him, just get some ability damage off right there. He was inside all of those creeps, and I had already used all of my AoE abilities, so I made sure that I went ahead. Oh my goodness, speaking of making sure we go ahead. Gonna turn around, try to get the axe off, not gonna be able to get it. Still, it was there anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So right now, Blood Forge is an item that we're looking at because it's gonna give us that shield after we get a kill. You can see that our combo was still basically taking people down, so a Blood Forge is a great item here. As far as our CDR options, Fail Not, if they didn't have the Kuzma, obviously disconnected, but in general, I like it, but I hate building crit against Kuzenbo, so I wouldn't recommend going into the Fail Not this game. I'm just gonna go into the Blood Forge because I am feeling confident in my ability to grab ourselves 1 kill before we get taken down. When you're doing objectives and stuff on Ullr, whether that be a tower, gold fairy, whatever, make sure you are using your 2 in your bow stance. That by the end of the game, that's giving you 45 physical power. That's basically an entire item for 5 seconds. Gonna wait for the beads to run out on the Pele so we can hit him with a little love combo. I'm gonna pop my beads to get out some of this AoE Scylla root. Switch back over to my bow stance, axe stance, bow stance, axe stance, bow stance. You can see that I'm switching back and forth between the stances pretty frequently to make sure that I'm utilizing all the abilities that it gives me. You really don't want to be rocking 1 stance. It's also one of the reasons why I stopped using the tier 5 Ullr skin, because the tier 5 Ullr skin is so loud and you have to stance switch so often on Ullr that it actually just got overwhelmingly annoying. Hey, there's a Guan Yu behind us. I'm popping my 2 for some movement speed. Waiting to axe him until he used his 3. Gonna switch back over my bow stance. Gonna try to jump over the end of this Guan Yu stun. We did jump over it. Gonna see if I can't hit him with a couple more auto attacks and put him down. Reminder that in Smite, you can basically jump over any ability that you want to, with the notable exception of things like, you know, Nuwa ulti and like a Relics pull, which very specifically pulls you when you are in the air. So don't be afraid to use your jump and just up down in order to avoid something like in that case. I was just avoiding the Guan Yu stun. Grab a sentry ward and a regular ward so we can get wards out over by the fire giant. The only ability, two abilities that you have on Ullr that go through walls is your 3, which is at least convenient. This one does not go through the wall. Your axe will not go through the wall, but you can jump over the walls and you can use your 3 over the walls. This means that Ullr doesn't mind fighting in the jungle. Some gods really, really like or don't like fighting in the jungle, depending on how well their abilities go through walls. Ullr, kind of a mixed bag on that one. He's got the ability to jump over walls, which means if you're going against the jungler that can't, so like this Pele, me being next to walls is nice because Pele's only way to get over a wall is to go ahead and use her blink because she does not have an actual leap ability. For my second active on Ullr, I got blink this game. You always have the standard option of grabbing a Aegis as your second relic. There's absolutely nothing wrong with going a standard beads Aegis game on your Ullr. That's very nice. For me, Ullr, I play him a lot like the way that I play Scylla, which I like to include a blink in, because if I walk up next to somebody and I blink and then I hit him with the axe combo, just like that, they're pretty much dead every time. Nobody, you can't really expect the Ullr axe, because when you get blinked on like that, there's just nothing you can do. You can't really react fast enough. And now we're gonna try to bring ourselves a little Kuzenbo down, try to get another Bloodforge proc. I'm just gonna jump in to make sure I get the Bloodforge proc so I can keep fighting. I'm actually gonna go tank the tower for just a moment for the team, making use of that Bloodforge proc that I got. Bleed goes down on Ullr from the Zonquil. We're not gonna be able to get it. Popping my 2, gonna have some bonus damage against this mid-tier 2 tower. You should probably just walk right over to the fire giant at this point. We got all 5 of us alive. Gonna clear out a little camp on my way there. Use my jump to get over this wall. Me and Ullr are gonna be our main fire giant damage dealer. I don't mind starting this up because I can always hop over the wall if things get too tough. So that's fine by me. Neither of us really have great secure, so it's just gonna basically be everybody burning it down if anybody gets here. If you do have to be the objective secure for your team, the best that you can do is simply 3. The second you click your 3, pop your 1. They'll basically go off at the exact same time, just like you were fighting an enemy god. And that's the best that you can do. And it's not a horrible amount of secure. I mean, that's probably like 1,000 damage. Like, it's definitely not horrible. It's better than a lot of other hunter secures for sure. For sure. Now that we've got the Bloodforge online, we've got this big fat power going. You can see that we have almost no attack speed in this build. This is on purpose for 2 reasons. One, Ullr does actually have built-in attack speed. In his kit, you get 25% when you're in your bow stance. So right now in my axe stance, if I switch over, you can see I go from 1.24 to 1.47. But it's also gonna be perfect for us because what we're gonna do is at the end of the game, we're gonna grab an oboe. On any hunter right now, any hunter, I don't care what role you're playing, I don't care where you are, what you're doing. If you have a large power build, like I'm running, I've got a Transcendence, a Heartseeker, a Bloodforge, 3 of the highest power items in the game. If you are doing that, you should always, always, always be picking up an oboe at the late stages of the game. Oboe is gonna proc, you see 15 damage plus 60% of your total basic attack damage. So not only is it going to give us a bunch of attack speed that we don't have in the build, but the damage actually goes up even more because of the specific items that we built. Always make sure you've got an oboe in this situation. Now, I'm not saying you build an oboe every game, you know, but any game that you're running a heavy power build like this. You can run a build like this on Neath, works perfectly fine. Same idea, ability-based hunter. What I really want to do is blink in on the Scylla. That's her root down. I'm gonna kind of wait for his crush. I'm gonna get a little aggressive here. The second he went for the ulti, I was in right behind him. Gonna start auto-attacking Kuzenbo. So you can see I don't have crit, specifically because they've got this big tanky team. And they've got like double thorns. They've got all sorts of crazy stuff. And it's awesome that I'm not, you know, critting my own brains out with the thorns. Between the thorns on these teams and the Kuzenbos, if I would have had that fail not, that would have been bad news bears. Bad news bears. Gonna see if I can't run. He's actually got Aegis on him, so I'm just gonna walk up, smack him, and bada bing, bada boom. When you're playing Ullr, you have to be willing to play him aggressive. I think this turns a lot of people off of Ullr at the very start when they're trying to get into him. Because his axe requires you to kind of go up and get involved, you just have to be confident that you're going to hit it, especially because that combination, axe stance stun, switch over to your bow form, 3-1. You have to do that the second you throw out your axe. So just to clarify, I'm not switching over to bow form to 3-1. After my axe stuns, you throw the axe, and while literally the axe is out in the air, out into the world, that is when you switch over to your bow stance and you 3-1, where they should be stunned if you hit it. You're gonna miss it sometimes. It's gonna be awkward. You're gonna, you know, miss all of your abilities. It's fine. You have to learn at some point. At the very end of this build, we would have been selling our Warrior Tabite. And chances are, honestly, that I either, one, grabbed another penetration item, anything from an Aussie for the double lifesteal at the end of the game if I was feeling like I needed flat pen, to a Titan's Bane if I felt like I needed all the percent pen in the world. And also, keep in mind that even if you're running this heavy power build, especially against tankier teams like they're running, a kin size is always a great late game item as well. And that is our Ullr mid lane